everyone, welcome to another episode of Grassroots Racer, where I talk to someone who loves being sideways on the track. Usually he's drifting in his drift car, so I can't wait to find more about the category of racing. And it's a big welcome to Adam Miles from team Full Lock and Sideways. So how are you going, Adam?
Good, Ed, and yourself, how are you?
I'm great. And are you having a good night tonight?
Yeah, quiet one. Been working on the car today, just doing a few bits and pieces on it, so.
Yeah, cool. So let's get straight into it. My first question is, are you a first generation racer, or has your family been involved in racing as you were growing up?
I'm second generation. My dad started racing well before I was born. He started off in a Mini Cooper S. He was racing against Dick Johnson, Peter Brock, the Ghegum brothers and all that. He did a couple of rounds at Wanneroo, and then we helped build the cat racing car over here in WA, so he was a co-driver for that before they got bought out.
That's really cool. And you said you guys were involved in helping build that, so I guess that's where you got the spark for racing. So when you started, did you start in karting or motorbikes or something like that?
No, I just dibbled and dabbled, drove Dad's cars around a little bit here and there, pit crewed for him and his best friend that had the cat racing car, and then started doing time attack series in my GC8 WRX I've got, and then saw a couple of guys I know that were doing drifting, and we thought, yeah, let's give that a go.
That's really cool. Let's just quickly talk about the time attacks. Where did you race them?
That was at Wanneroo Raceway. We did that. We had first in street car class, because our WRX is just a pure street car, daily driven car. So we got first in street class over that, but then COVID hit, so they haven't done much in the last year and a half with the time attack or anything like that at the moment.
Was the car very highly modified, or was it just neutral?
WRX has got a few things done to it, yeah. It's got the full STI gearbox and running gear. It's got the standard EJ205, big front main intercooler, bigger injectors, bigger turbo, and that's about it. The engine's basically stock.
How did you come up with your team name, man? It's pretty cool.
Well, drifting, as you know, we're usually always sideways, and we figured you're always on full lock. So I was talking to a couple of mates, and they're like, oh, I'm trying to think of a name. And he's like, well, you're full lock and you're sideways. And I'm like, well, Team Flash, full lock and sideways.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's just quickly talk about your drifting. So what are you racing now, and how did you get into drifting?
So we've got a Nissan S13. It was pretty much a basic S13 when we got it. We've spent the last probably 18 months, bit by bit, changing it. And it's a full-blown drift car now, weld-in cage, front and rear's tube frame now. We all custom fuel tank in the back. It's all been seam welded in the back. We've got big front mount intercooler. The SR20's had a little bit of work done to it, not a lot. The gearbox is standard, but we'll upgrade that later when we get some more money. So, but yeah, it's had a fair bit of work done to it.
Does it take a lot of time to do the body kits and stuff like that, adjusting the panels to make them different, or even sometimes you take them off? So is it a long process?
Yeah, especially if you hit a wall or hit another car like we've done a few times. It's just fiberglass, so it just explodes. So yeah, we spend a fair bit of time patching, fiberglassing, realigning the panels. Yeah, it takes a bit of time, especially the front end, trying to line it up level with the bonnet, get everything level again. Our back end, as far as I know, is the only one over here in WA. That's come all the way from America. So we've got a full fiberglass rear end on ours and front. So the only part that is basically metal still is the doors and the roof.
You just mentioned to me then that you got parts from America. Would there be many other competitors out there who get their parts supplied from America, and does it make a difference?
As far as I've had a few guys ask me about the rear end, where we got it from, and I told them, as far as I know, it's the only one over here. The parts took a while to get here, took a bit of work to get them on because I had to cut them into 4 pieces for freight. So then we had to fiberglass it back together and flush it and everything else. It's good for, obviously, in drifting when you're banging panels and tyres are hitting your rear end, because it just flexes and then it just pops back out. So we're not constantly banging panels back out, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. So when you turn up on race day, how's the atmosphere? Like, is it really competitive, or are you guys all out there for a bit of fun?
It's pretty competitive. We've got a few guys over here that spend a fair bit of money on their cars. They're a lot higher up than us with the money they've spent, bigger engines, more horsepower. But in drifting, it's not all down to horsepower. It comes down to your driving skill, how you drive the car. And I'll be honest, I'm still learning the craft. There's other guys that have been doing it 10, 15 years that have learnt the craft over time. And it's never the same when you're out on track. Every time you go out, you're learning something. It's something different. It's not the same angles because it's a different track each time we go out on events. So it's always something different.
What are some tricks you've learnt over time that you're maybe willing to share with me?
Not really tricks in drifting. It all comes down to technique. Where you initiate into a corner, you sort of turn the car left to turn right and you flick the rear end out, which gets the angle going on the car. It all takes time to learn. It's an art in itself. As I say, it's never the same each track. It's always different. And then you throw in wet weather and that throws everything out the door. You're winging it on the day.
So it's pretty hard to keep the car together, like when you're sliding on the dry, but like you just mentioned then, when it's wet, what do you really have to do just to keep it sideways and be quick?
Steering control, accelerator input, like you're feathering the accelerator instead of holding it flat to the floor. Like you're not even holding it flat to the floor. You're sort of more 3/4 full throttle when it's dry, but the wet, you're just virtually feathering the throttle bit by bit because you're just trying to get around the corner and keep it sliding at the same time and keep the boost up.
Yeah, and would there be many categories there, and which one are you competing in?
We have Pro Class and Pro-Am, which is not street class, but it's a Pro-Am series. I'm in Pro-Am. I have a couple of times, like we did Drift Wars last year, I made it through to the top 16, which put me into the Pro Class. That was a whole different kettle of fish going against those guys with the big, 600, 700, 800 horsepower engines. They've got sequential gearboxes in their cars. They run semi-slicks, whereas we're running just street tyres on the car. So there's a big difference jumping from Pro-Am to Pro Series, and it's a fair bit more money-wise.
Yeah, it definitely would be. And does it really matter, like, the budget? Would it make much of a difference if I'm spending $100,000 a year and you're spending $50,000 a year?
Yeah, big difference. You can have, better gear on the car. Like a lot of the guys are using, as I said, a sequential gearbox. They would be up around $10,000 for a gearbox. Then they're using what we call a winter's diff, which is all you're basically doing is pulling 6 bolts out, pull the back of the diff out. You can change the gear ratios on the run. So if you're finding the car's too tight, they can pull that diff out quickly, take a couple of shims out. Instead of it being like a 4.9 diff, drops it to a 4.6. So they can do it on the run within, I think it's 10 minutes. They can pull it out, change it, put it back in.
Geez, that's pretty quick. Where are your drifting events held? Like, are they state? Do you race national? And do you even travel around the whole of Australia, or have you ever gone to a different country to race?
So mainly in WA, we run at 𝘕𝘓𝘢 Raceway. We go down to Collie a few times a year and run down there. We've been to Motorplex. We've been to, the Speed Dome on the outside. They've got like an old bike track. We've just been down there before. We use Jack's Hill at 𝘕𝘓𝘢 as well. The Motorplex, they did an event there not long ago. I didn't get to that one because the car's getting a few things done to it. We did have plans to go east a couple of times this year. We were due to go to Drift Masters, but I had to pull out of that because COVID hit for over there. And they were going to make me quarantine 2 weeks there and 2 weeks when I came back, and I just couldn't afford the 4 weeks off work just for quarantine. So that put a stop to that. Then we were supposed to go to South Australia only, I think it was a month and a half ago. Then COVID hit over there, same thing. We had to cancel, pull out of that event as well. But we'll get east. hopefully by the end of the year or early next year.
Yeah, so you've definitely got some plans to travel. But where's the big goal? Where would you like to go one day to drift?
I mean, I don't claim to be great at drifting. As I say, I'm still learning. It's going to take a while. From circuit racing to drifting, it's just a whole different ball game. I'd like to get over east and do like the high-tech drift series over there, or the Zoo Performance Pro-Am, and just go around to the different tracks. The goal would be one day get over east and do like IDC or something like that, but that'd be big dollars to get. You'd need some big sponsors to get over there and compete with those guys. You got like the likes of Connor Shanahan, the brothers. You got James Dean and a few of the other boys over there. They've got big backing from Red Bull and a few other people like that. So that's a whole nother level altogether.
Yeah, so it definitely sounds like you're pretty competitive. And if you had a dream car maybe that you'd like to drift, like the car that you want to drift and you definitely win races in it, what would it be?
A lot of the guys, like in IDC, even in D1NZ, I wouldn't mind getting over there for an event. They're using BMWs now, but they're putting like 2JZs in them or V8 engines in them. And I know from reading up on the D1NZ, a lot of those guys are spending, I think they said $10,000 to $15,000 each event they're doing over there. So you'd need some pretty big backing. But a Beamer with a 2JZ in it, running probably 500 or 600 horsepower would be good. And like 𝘱𝘓𝘴 in it, Winter's diff, sequential gearbox, just have all the fruit, if you know what I mean. But that'd probably be it'd be $100,000, $150,000 car.
So Team Flash has an announcement that they'll be making in September, so you guys don't want to miss out on that. But do you have any partners or sponsors that you'd like to thank currently supporting the team?
Yeah, we've got Secret Monkey Garage, Brendan and the boys there. They do awesome work for us on the car. Saloon Tyres are on board with us, giving us a big hand. Highline Racewear, Raceworks, Premier Auto Trade, they provide us with harnesses, all the Raceworks gear on the car. We've got, who else have I got? Auto Wine Morley, which is out of Marjoram. He used to be in the V8 supercars. He helps us out with all oils and stuff. Fresh Paws Dog Grooming, they look after our dogs and help us out. Who else we got? High Service Transport, which is Harley over here. He helps us out if I can't get the car somewhere. He takes it down there for us. Who else have I got? Oh, Patriot Arts and Signs. They'll be doing the new livery on the car for us. So that'll be a big help for us.
People watching Grassroots Racer love to know and they want to follow your journey. So what's your social media platforms so they can find you?
So we're just Team Flash on Instagram, Team Flash on Facebook, and on LinkedIn as well. They're the main three we use. And we've got YouTube. That's a bit bare at the moment. That's Team Flash as well, but we're hoping we want to build that up. It's just hard trying to get content on the day because I'm busy, obviously, driving the car. Ben takes photos for us and stuff, so he's busy doing that. So it's just hard getting video. But we do try and get what we can.
Yeah, that's really cool. And thanks for joining me on the show, Adam. It's been really interesting finding out about drifting. Because to be honest, I've seen it on TV before, but I didn't really know too much about it until tonight. And having you share your motorsport story makes it absolutely great. And like the people out here listening to Grassroots Racer, they want to hear about all different sorts of racing. And you're the first drifter that we've had on the pod, so hopefully we'll get a few more on. But make sure everyone you follow social media pages, and hopefully you remember to stay around in September to find the announcement. But have you got any advice for people starting out in drifting?
I've learned from experience, try and keep it fun. Don't get too aggro on the day. We've had a lot of dramas when we first bought the car of parts failing on the car in state championships. We didn't do too well in it. And that's when we decided, we're stripping the car back and we're just going to start from scratch and do it bit by bit and build the car up. Have fun and just go sideways. It's good fun. But it's a learning curve. Don't expect to get in there and think, it's just one big burnout, because it's not. We take passengers out on days for passengers rides and they all get out of the car and they're like, that's just opened my eyes hugely. We just thought it was one big burnout. There's so much going on in the car with us trying to steer, clutch kicking, accelerator, pulling the hydro handbrake, and sometimes you're doing it all in one motion. So it's full on inside the car.
Yeah, it definitely would be. And if you're ever in Victoria, let me know, because if you're close, I'll definitely come and watch you. But remember, everyone, drive fast and take chances. Thank you.
Cheers, Ayrton.